Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to recap day 3 of the Eric Faust trial. This is the University of Georgia Athens student that was murdered back in 2001. And 23 years later, they arrest Edric Faust for this murder. And I have yet to figure out what's the evidence that you have against this guy. I didn't hear it during our opening statements, and I have yet to hear it. And we've finished day 3 of the evidence coming into this case. Let's look at the intro, then we'll get right into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So good to have you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you on board as I recap live trials. And also, I have a Crafting and Crime Daily store where you can buy diamond painting artwork to complete on your own while you're listening to the trials. All right. So we are talking about this Edric. His name's not Eric. It's Edric Faust. Now, let me set the stage for you here just a little bit. Edric is the defendant. He's black. It's important for today's recap that you know he's black. His attorney is, I've got hair in my eye. His attorney is black. And there's another man sitting at the table, also black. And I think he's either another attorney that's not really doing anything in the case. He's just kind of sitting there, or he's a paralegal. He's probably a paralegal because the main defense attorney, he's just doing everything himself to his detriment because there's another blow up between him and the judge today. Don't go anywhere. You are not going to want to miss that. We're going to get into that. I'm going to show you. He literally said, I feel like I'm in communist Russia here. The defense lawyer, like, oh no. Anyway, let's get back to Brian Grove, who was on the stand when last we were together. This is the alcohol and tobacco and firearm guy who has been qualified as an expert in this trial as a fire protection engineer. Whatever that is. It's fascinating, though. I got to tell you, fascinating stuff. I thought that I was thinking to myself, if I had a do-over, if, God said, hey, you can do anything you want over again, I'd be like, this is kind of a cool career. Talking about fires and their origins and the elements and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. And that's what he did. He talked about these various experiments that the fire department has done over time. And the reason being is because they're just trying to study different textiles. And when you hear the word textiles, that usually means some sort of fabric to see how fast that fabric will burn when it's placed on one of those round burner stoves. They're actually done studies on this. And not for this case. It's just a study that they did. In any case, he described all that in his PowerPoint that he had for the jury. And he talked about this triangle thing where in order to have a fire, you got to have 3 things. Fuel for the fire, like wood or, whatever's in your bedroom. Because we're talking about a bedroom fire here. You've got to have a heat source, and you've got to have oxygen. And what he talked about, and the conclusion that he came to in this case, after a lot of testimony, is that she apparently had a chenille blanket. And it's their theory because they could not find any accelerant here. There was no gasoline that was poured onto the fire. They don't have a clue how this fire was set. Not a clue. They don't know. They are reaching for straws. So, assuming that this criminal is smart enough to do this, take the chenille blanket, heat it up on that stove that was on when the firefighter came in, take it back into the bedroom and light it on fire, he said this would still have been a very slow moving fire because you've got, he had that heat source brought in by the chenille blanket from the stove. You've got the fuel in the bedroom, you've got the rest of the blanket, the clothing. Well, she wasn't wearing any clothes, but all other stuff that's in the bedroom. And he said the main fuel source in this bedroom was the bed. That was the main fuel source. And then your need for oxygen. Well, none of the windows are open in this bedroom, and the door is shut and locked. So there's no ventilation going on in this fire situation, causing that fire to just progress very, very slowly. He says, even if you've got an air conditioner that's going and it comes on periodically, it's still going to be a very slow moving fire because it's limited in the amount of ventilation, limited in the amount of oxygen that's getting to this fire. Okay, what do we do with this information? I don't know. Doesn't help us get to who did this, does it? No, it does not. And he said in this case, he said there was a fire in the room, but the room was not on fire. So he explained flashover. Once you have this flashover of the room, the fire going up over the roof, up over to the ceiling, then the room is on fire. In this case, the room was not on fire. There was no flashover. He says there were no vertical pulls in this room, like, draperies that it would gone on, or towels, or anything that would have caused those flames to move upward. He said the main fuel was the bed. You can see how fascinating I found this to be. Anyway, he said the conditions were right, that this was a fire of long duration. It could have been going for a while before anybody noticed it. And I guess that was the point of the testimony, that we really cannot create a timeline based on the findings by this firefighter arson investigator. We can't, we don't know. We have no idea. We know it was slow moving. So whoever set that fire had a while how did he get out of that room? She was locked in the room. Now, I guess you can activate the mechanism and then close the door, I'm looking at my door. Yeah, I guess you could do that. I don't, because then I would be locked out of my studio forever. But yeah, you can lock the outer door and then you can walk out. I guess that's how he did it. But we know the front door was dead bolted. The back door was dead bolted. Nothing else in this apartment was disturbed. So he goes out a window at 8:20 in the morning. So more on that in these next few witnesses. We get 3 or 4 witnesses of people that lived in this neighborhood. And they kept putting a map of the neighborhood up, and they would ask these people, where did you live in the neighborhood? And they would, all different streets. Oh, one guy lived across the street from the home shared by the 3 college women and where the fire caught on. He lived across the street. But all 4 of these people had seen a black man walking through their neighborhood about 8:20 that morning, and felt like it was very out of the ordinary to see a black man walking through their neighborhood. Even though I think there is testimony that that's a common route for people to take to cut through this neighborhood to get to the Walmart that is on the other side. Perfect explanation there. And what happened with this first lady? First of all, she's elderly. All these witnesses are old. Like, this happened 26 years ago, 25 years ago. We're all old now. We don't remember shit. This one, she's got her oxygen on, and she's I don't know how old she was, my age probably, but I just don't wear the oxygen. Anyway, so she don't remember, what did you tell the sketch artist? I don't know. But they had a recording of what she told the sketch artist and what she told the officer about this black man that she saw. And nothing in the description that she gave during that recording matches the illustration that the sketch guy drew. She's like, oh, he's got 2-inch long hair. He's got goatee. No, this guy in the sketch, he's got a wide nose. He's got, all the black features that you would expect, the wide ears. When did you say all that? I didn't say any of that. So you didn't describe what was in this sketch. No. So, and the sketch does not look like the defendant. Let me just say that. Then it goes on with, but in the middle of, it goes on with the next 3 witnesses. Same thing. Saw a black man. Was he wearing an orange shirt? Was he wearing an orange shirt, or was it an orange sweatshirt? Because there's a difference, apparently. Some witnesses would say, oh, it was orange shirt. Some would say, no, it was a sweatshirt, but I call all shirts and sweatshirts shirts. And was it bright orange or dull orange, or was it, whatever? This went on for a while. He wasn't running through the neighborhood. He was walking through the neighborhood. In one case, he just walked right past the woman, just strolling along, but he appeared out of place. Now, why does this sound familiar? Why am I being so facetious about this? Because we had this in another Georgia case where there was a black man, Ahmaud Arbery, who was walking through the neighborhood, just minding his own business. Well, he was jogging, actually, but these men went after him because, he looked out of place in the neighborhood. He could be robbing somebody. You never know. Anyway, they shoot him and kill him, and they're living their lives out in prison right now, those guys. So you got to be careful with how you're identifying people, and so this black defense attorney, man, he just went in on it because the second sketch didn't look like the first sketch, didn't look like the defendant. Why are we here? Because the sketch artist did a wonderful job of drawing a black man, but not the black man that those witnesses were describing, apparently. Okay. But in the middle of all this, Mr. Black defense attorney gets on his high horse and wants a mistrial. I need a mistrial. Sends the jury out. And I'm like, oh God, now what? What have we done? What has happened now? So he was objecting to there was no foundation for a demonstrative exhibit, which was a picture of a house. And he wanted a mistrial because I want a mistrial because you keep ruling against me. And this is like, he basically was stomping his feet like he was in kindergarten. You keep playing with me and you won't leave me alone. And you're being a bully. And he's not wrong. She's kind of bullying this guy. But she's losing it. She's losing her patience. Is wearing a very thin, and this reminds me a lot of watching that trial where the guy represented himself, the parade. Remember the parade guy? God, what the heck was his name? Anyway, but he didn't go to law school, so you kind of expected this sort of push-pull between the judge and the defendant. But I don't expect that from this defense lawyer who went to law school, we hope. I don't know if he passed the rules of civil procedure course or not, but he's just butting heads with this judge. Watch this interaction that happens in the middle of all these witnesses I was talking about. Here's the interaction. Here's him stomping his feet, saying he feels like he's communist Russia. Here you go.
You all may be seated. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I am again moving for a mistrial. We can't impeach witnesses. We can't argue consent. The state can present things that we can't present. We can't rebut allegations in their indictment. We are requesting a mistrial. This is not fair. This trial has been worse than practicing in communist Russia. He doesn't stand a chance in this courtroom, Your Honor. The witness made a prior statement. We played the recording for the court. The witness made a prior statement. He was wearing like an orange-colored shirt, orange or red, something bright. That is a quote. We played the recording. The Honorable Court was able to hear that recording. Her testimony here today was that he was wearing a hoodie. This is important because the state wants to make all the people that were seen in the neighborhood Mr. False. The person that they brought the first witness in for said, oh, he had a jacket. So, of course, they want her to say, oh, he had on a hoodie. It's an inconsistent statement. We are handcuffed, Your Honor. We are asking for a mistrial in this case.
Interesting, huh? Guys on thin ice, really, really thin ice. All right, so then one more witness that I want to talk about here yesterday is the DNA person. I was dreading this because I just, the whole DNA discussion just bores me to tears. And so I tried to get into it last night, couldn't. This morning, I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat down, said, all right, I'm going to get through this. I owe it to you guys. I need to, because I'm thinking, okay, this is it. This is the testimony that's going to put away this defendant. This is what's going to tell us who did what to whom. If that's what you're waiting for, just you can hang up now. Anyway, now we're talking about, this was back in 2001. This crime scene investigator, DNA and an analyst, whatever you want to call her, she examined the sexual assault kit that was obtained from the medical examiner on Tara Baker's body. And she was looking for the presence of seminal fluid in the oral swab, rectal swab, and a vaginal swab. Negative, nothing there. Zip, zero, nada. But then they started talking about this quantifier trio detection system that has since come out, where you don't need seminal fluid to identify male DNA on something. So, but I didn't hear whether they went back and tested anything with this quantifier trio detection thing, which came out in 2016. So I don't know if they went back to those samples and looked for male DNA and found it or not, or if what this person did was, if she found the seminal fluid that she had been looking for in those swabs, she would have sent it for DNA analysis. So I'm assuming that maybe we're going to hear from the DNA analyst, another DNA analyst with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, that will tell us, yes, I took those samples, I used that quantifier trio detection system, and I found male DNA, or I didn't find male. We haven't heard that yet, and I think that's coming. That was my impression. So she also tested the fingernails for the presence of blood. There was blood underneath Tara Baker's fingernails, so she sent those samples for DNA analysis. The DNA did come back. So now he was talking to this one about DNA results. So I'm confused, because he said, did you get the DNA results? Yes, we did. It's Tara Baker. The fingernail, the blood underneath Tara Baker's fingernails is Tara Baker's blood. Nobody else. There were no more contributors to the DNA. Then today she tested some stove knobs. Remember, the stove knobs were not on the stove. She was testing them for the presence of blood, because if she had found blood on any of those items she tested, including 3 knives, she would send it off for a DNA analysis. So the fingernails were sent for DNA, came back Tara Baker. Nothing on the stove knobs, nothing that she could identify as blood to send for DNA. And then there were 3 knives. 2 of them she tested for the presence of blood, did not find anything, so nothing was sent for DNA analysis. But the 1 knife was positive for the presence of blood, so she sent that to be tested for DNA. It came back and showed that the blood on that knife was Tara Baker's blood, and there were no additional contributors to the blood on the knife. She also tested the toenails of Tara Baker for the presence of blood. None found. And that's it. I'm like, wait a minute. What? Why are we here? Where's the smoking gun? I thought he was. Wait a minute. So the answer must lie in that new quantifier trio detection test that we haven't heard the results of. That's the only thing I can think. We're going to hear him from someone else, but we didn't hear him yesterday. Then the last person to take the stand was a friend of Tara Baker's, and she basically was describing the relationship that Tara had she was one of the roommates. She went to college with Tara Baker. Tara was a cheerleader. Rah, rah, rah. Sis, boom, bah. Anyway, like, this is like the all-American girl here. MAGA, the whole thing. She was, Tara was the beauty queen. Tara was the one everybody loved. She was the cheerleader. She was going to law school. She wanted to be a real estate lawyer. Wanted to be a judge someday. She loved this guy, Chris Melton. He would be there all the time. But the defense on cross-examination, because now Tara roomed with this woman in college, but then during graduate school, the woman was going to graduate school, Tara was going to law school. They all moved into the same house. She, this woman, and another woman. So they were all in this house together. She learned about she had been out of town or out of families. She was at home or something. And when she heard that there had been a fire at the house, and that's as much as she knew until they got to the house. And then they were informed about what happened to Tara. But in any case, what the defense lawyer brought out on cross that I found to be very interesting was the relationship that Tara had with Chris Melton was and she was trying to back off this witness. She was trying to back away from this opinion, but this is an opinion she gave 25 years ago to police. She felt like the relationship was kind of running its course, that Tara was frustrated because she was in law school. She didn't have time for this guy anymore. She didn't have time, and it was a frustrating for her because she loved the guy, but she didn't have time for him anymore. She's trying to concentrate on her studies, her job, she just didn't have time for this guy. But, and the witness was trying to say, well, that's how I felt, but I don't know if she felt that way. I mean, that was my opinion, and that was not her. And, she's trying to make up all these excuses. Well, you said it, didn't you? You said it. Yeah, I said it. So, I don't know. I wonder if this Chris Melton guy is going to take the stand. I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about this whole situation. Anyway, so that's the end of the day. We still have no idea why we are in court against Edric Faust. Why? Can anybody tell me? Hello? Anybody? Yeah? No. All right, guys, I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Have a wonderful day. It's Thursday. The snow has melted. I feel like I've been let out of jail. You get a pass for the day. It's warm again. And what's the temperature? The temperature is, it's a lot warmer than it's been. I will tell you that. A lot warmer. Okay. 57. Oh, I thought it was warmer than that. Okay, well, sunny all day long. Sunny. All right, bye, everybody. I'll see you in the next video.